What's up, guys? It's been a bit since I've been on here, mostly just because life has been so busy. I just haven't been like in the mood for record collecting all that much lately. I was kind of taking a bit of a break. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, and then I just wound up hitting a couple of record stores, and the torch has been lit once more. So here we are with a big old stack of tapes. I'm trying to get back on this regular scheduling that I have been, but yeah, like I said, I figured I'd come back with a tape update of some stuff that a couple of them I've been holding on to for like 2 years, because I don't listen to a lot of tapes and I don't accumulate a lot of tapes because of that. So I got a good handful, mixed bag of traditional metal and good metal like death metal, death doom, a little bit of thrash here and there. And in the background, we are listening to one of the new wave of British heavy metal's best, Courts, Stand Up and Fight. If you don't know this, first off, shame on you. Second, you need to go buy this immediately because it's one of the finest pieces of 1980 heavy metal that there is. Check this out if you guys haven't. I'm a big fan. We're drinking this Untitled Art beer today. I played at this brewery last week, I think, and I just grabbed a 4-pack on the way out. It's a Citra Mosa IPA, so it's supposed to be like a Citra Juicy IPA, which is not juicy. It's just very Citra hop forward, which is kind of like a floral, almost citrusy flavor, hence Citra. So in Australia. It's got a little juice to it, but it's not like when you hear Citra Mosa, you think like you're at a Citra Mimosa orange. Not so much. A little bit. It is good though. All right, so we're going to start off with some filthy, despicable, gross death metal. Steeping Corporeal Mess by Fetid. I think it's Fetid. Not a word we use much in modern English, but this is a nasty piece of death metal on this like semi-translucent, actually it's fully translucent, like greenish yellow tape, just this gross color. Really cool tape shell. Nasty logo with what I think is supposed to be like a spine and a rib cage for the T, which you can see a little bit better on there. Gross. More just filthy whatever nastiness on there. Old school looking stuff. So this is a new wave of traditional death metal kind of band out of Washington and Oregon. I think it's, I don't know exactly what cities, but whatever. This is their first full length that came out in 2019. It's the first thing they did after their 2017 demo, of which I've never heard. But this is like super standard issue, meat and potatoes, chunky, nasty death metal. It's got some like chuggy, kind of doomy bits here and there, but it's mostly a straight up death metal record. And it's featuring members of like Witch Vomit, one of the live members of Undergang, Mortiferum, you know, kind of your standard issue of this genre, death metal bands. And it's just solid stuff, man. I'm not much of a gore hound these days when it comes to death metal. I've been more into like the death doom side of things. It's a bit more, I don't know, esoteric, I guess you could say. Really, really decent stuff though. I would recommend having it if you don't have that. But this is something I would really get on. This is All For One by Raven. Big fan. As you might imagine, this is more my speed these days. My taste has matured into this kind of greater appreciation of traditional heavy metal on this like off-white kind of light gray tape with a really cool looking logo. Same font that you get on the record, which is right there. I don't have this on any other formats. Hilarious band photo. I don't know who's who. I'm imagining it's Rob Hunter in the middle there, but he's got this hockey mask on for whatever reason. But dude, you gotta love Raven. I mean, they're so good. They're so fun. This is their 1983 third full length, which is one of their more loved albums. This one, Wipeout. And I forgot what the first one is. I don't have it, but I do need to get a copy of that. So that'll be eventually in a collection update once I just get around to it, because this isn't the kind of stuff that you find in the wild super often, right? But this is great, man. It's got some speedy tinges here and there. It's a little bit on the speed metal side for its time, 1983. You know, that's pretty early, especially for like the thrash camp, but the speed metal's kind of like in full-fledged. And this is only like touching on it, you know, it's not full-blown speed metal or anything like that. This is originally released on Neat Records, but which is cool. What's cool here is this is a Megaforce press, which I'm really a big fan of getting stuff that's actually like old school Megaforce pressings. I'm not like a pressing guy for the most part, but I just think it's like a cool bit of novelty to have something that's pressed on such like an infamous record label. Really cool one to have there though. Next, Excarnated Entity. Yeah, with Stillborn and Ash. So this is a bit of Death Doom from the USA. Another Washington, Oregon band. I don't think there's any crossover as far as like having part unfettered, but another tape there. It's got that like old school Funeral Doom looking logo thing there. I actually like this more than the logo that they grew to use later on, because this is their first demo, so that's like the first incarnation of their logo. A nice looking J card. That artwork's pretty cool. Just kind of like some desolation landscape, looks like a destroyed village of sorts on there, something like that. But this is more of your doomy death metal side of things. It definitely fits in with that new wave of traditional death metal style, but I think it's got a little bit more of that like Paradise Lost thing going on. You know, so it's like not straight up death metal. It's got some tinges of like some slower other elements. It's got members in it from a bunch of other bands, but I kind of don't remember a lot of them. I put in some of them. I was looking at their metal archives, and it's just a ton. But this is good stuff, man. I would highly recommend you check this guy out if you're a fan of that like Peaceville era of death metal with a little bit more emphasis on the death metal as opposed to that kind of goth doom thing that a lot of Peaceville bands have. Then I got two from a band I've talked a lot about lately. I have Sacred Warrior with Wicked Generation and Master's Command. So Master's Command, I've showed, and I have in all three formats. They're from Chicago, and this is their second full length from '89, and this is their third full length from 1990. So they're labeled as like power heavy metal with some prog influence. I could definitely hear that. Definitely a little bit of prog, kind of in that Queensryche vein. Simple J card. Not the biggest fan of this whole like white kind of cheap look there, but this is my favorite of their albums. As I've mentioned before, my favorite track on here has got to be The Flood. It's got some harsh vocals on it, and you know, thinking about that, so this is a Christian band, right? So I was thinking like maybe they're trying to get like The Flood going, they're getting that like Nephilim voice going, you know what I mean? That doesn't really make sense considering we don't really describe that, but they're basically like giants, like angel human hybrids or something. I don't exactly know the exact theology behind what exactly Nephilim were, but that's kind of what I picture. I might be wrong on what I was just saying. Just putting that out there, don't take that from me as exact, but it's cool. Record cover, I really like that one. And then this one I haven't quite spent so much time with, but it's kind of more of the same thing, but it's not quite as captivating as the other one. This band really only has that one really good album cover. This one's just like, yeah, that, which is whatever, I guess. Nick stained jewel case, or whatever these cases are called, tape shell. Yeah, somebody's been smoking. Listen to this guy. Definitely a decent record, not the greatest thing you've ever heard, but it is worth owning. If you see a copy, I would recommend you grab it. Now we're on to some really, really great top shelf material. This is 1989 Law's Rocket, their fourth record, which is Annihilation Principle. Check that out, man. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Basic, clear cassette itself. Then we got a big old J card here. Yep. Oh yeah, just keeps on going forever. Love it. Lots of really cool artwork on here. They kind of have this like mad scientist thing going on with this album cover. Then this looks really cool. Kind of reminds me of this like SpongeBob game that I played as a child. But yeah, this band kind of has that like sci-fi thing going on. And they kind of get on that like weird tech thrash thing sometimes, but it definitely rides pretty heavy in the thrash speed camp somewhere in there. I've kind of like mentally classified this band with like Mekong Delta, but they're not as heady as Mekong Delta. But they're definitely cool, man. Definitely along the like the toxic, Evil Dead side of things. Really great record, Rifforama, super catchy. They do the Dead Kennedys Holiday in Cambodia on here, and they specified digital mix, so I imagine they were doing tape recordings up until this record, and then they did that one digitally. But it's really great, man. Just brilliant thrash record. Las Rocket. Another great record. Metal Church, Blessing in Disguise. Third record, 1989. Another just casual looking clear thing there. Toss J card out here for you. Not the most exciting J card you ever seen. It has all the lyrics so small you need a magnifying glass to read it. Yep. Not their best album cover either. But you know, they're rolling with ESP guitars, Pearl, Ernie Ball, whatever. I don't really care about gear. Not that kind of musician. But this is a good bit of like, you know, a constant quality with this band. You know, these first couple of albums are really good. It's just not quite as memorable as the self-titled or the second one. But, you know, it's decent enough. It's worth owning. If I see a CD copy, I'll snag this too. Same thing with the vinyl, because you could usually find this stuff relatively cheap. Just like, that's kind of why I buy tapes in general, right? I like the tapes because you can find them for cheap. Couple bucks here and there. I got some of these for really, really cheap. Actually, I think everything here is pretty much like a used bin pickup, which is more of my speed. But yeah, hyped on that. We're gonna go back into the death metal side of things here. Some Finnish death metal this time. We got two from Crips, which is their self-titled EP, as well as Reminisce of Expansion from, okay, so we'll start off with self-titled. This is their first EP, which came out in 2011. Really looks like homemade tape labels, which I appreciate. Out on Dark Descent. I do like a good DIY look. Yeah, man. Basic stuff here. So this band is one of those really like cacophonously dark death doom bands done in the proper Finnish style, i.e. Rippikoulu. I would probably say that's the closest to this band. And this one in particular, I really like the production on. It's really swampy. It's really murky. It's just got a really, really heavy, deep, dark, laden timbre to it. And then this next one, so this, we're going to skip a record because I don't have that one. And then we go to this next one, which is Reminisce of Expansion, like I said. Black tape shell, a little more professional, I would imagine, for a second full length as compared to their debut EP. Hang on, struggling. Another one here. Yeah, so I haven't spent a ton of time with this album in particular. I've listened to it a couple of times, but it just kind of hasn't really sat with me quite as much as that self-titled that Crips does. I don't know, there's something about that one. It's a little bit of a lightning in a bottle situation, you know what I mean? This one's cool too, though. It definitely has a similar darkness. It's a little bit better on the production end, like, technically speaking, but I prefer the bit of more of a murky darkness when it comes to this kind of Finnish death doom. I think it suits the style a little bit more comfortably. But yeah, Crips. Got a couple more here. So we got Hotter Than Hell Live by Barren Cross, another Christian metal album. So I picked this guy up just because I've never had any of this band's stuff. I'm not a big fan of these kind of like tan cassette plastic things, whatever they're called. But whatever, that's not important. It's just a shell. Here we go. Simple inside, very 90s. So this is a live album from 1990. They're 3 records deep at this point, right? So they're just kind of like jamming on like the high point of their career. That's usually the best era for a band. And they're just fresh out of the 80s, so they got a good amount of folks hanging around, jamming some tune skis with them. People enjoy this kind of stuff according to the crowd noise. I'm not a big live record guy when it comes to metal bands, as I've said a multiplicity of times, but this is a good thing for me to own because it's cheap and it'll get me to buy other stuff from them. I do have an LP of theirs. I don't think I ever bought the CD. No, I did not buy the CD of one of their albums. I meant to. It's been in my Amazon want list for a while. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. Usually I'll do that just to get free shipping. Toss a couple extra things on there, but my last round of stuff was prog rock. So, yeah, this is a great little sampler of their first 3 records. It's got a good live feel to it, but it's not my favorite thing in the world, right? They have like a weird blues jam on here that I think is very not fitting. It's the second to last track that they do with the song King Jesus, which is their... you know, it's a Christian metal album. It's heavy metal. They got some bluesy tinges here and there. 1990. It's everything you expect. Barren Cross. Speaking of, we're going to go to one more Christian record here. This is Soldiers Under Command by Striper. So I have this on CD already, but I picked this up for cheap, so I had to grab it. They are, you know, a California band, just like Barren Cross. I would imagine they knew each other. But this is a great little J card here. I like how this looks a lot. Very 80s. I always like the yellow thing with Striper, you know. Not so exciting on the liner, or excuse me, all the lyrics there and liner notes. I do like a good old-fashioned order form that you can get on there. I always thought that that was a cool little thing to have. I keep all of my order forms when I find them in old pressings of CDs and records. I don't find them too often with records. I'd imagine people used them, which I hope they did, support these record labels. This is not an Enigma, which they probably don't need much more money. But, you know, so this is good stuff. This band is kind of like, this is the best song on this Chorus record. But this is, a stupid message, but this is a great record. I would definitely highly recommend this for anybody who hasn't heard this. I don't know how you couldn't have heard the first couple of Striper albums, Yellow and Black Attack, Soldiers Under Command, all that stuff. Just, it's must-have stuff for any fan of like early American power metal and traditional heavy metal. Striper. The last thing I got here is just kind of like something I bought because I saw it. It is a sample from Symbol of Salvation by Armored Saint. It's just like a single sampler. They do Rain of Fire, Tribal Dance, Symbol of Salvation, and Spineless. So this is kind of where I start checking out with Armored Saint. I haven't even heard this full-length album, but this is decent enough. They're getting a little bro for me, you know what I mean? This is 1991, right? That's when the 4th record comes out. So this is right after the perfect era, right between Rising Fear and this, Symbol of Salvation. So it's... Rising Fear is a great record, but it's a little bit too bro-ish at times. It's got a little bit of that, like, you know, I don't know. The biker metal thing is not my thing, and I'm not trying to invent a genre tag. I'm saying, like, that's like a thing. You know, it's like their image. It's like the bikers like Armored Saint, just like they like David Allan Coe and country. It's just kind of how it goes. But I really like this kind of like epic metal thing that they had going on the first 2. So, like, when they kind of transitioned a little bit out of that and got a little bit more, like, hard rock influenced, it wasn't quite my thing so much. But it's cool to have. I will pick up the first 4 albums on CD if I find them. I don't think I have... Yeah, I have Rising Fear on CD. I have the first record on two formats, not CD. But, you know, Armored Saint's cool. If you guys don't like them, I don't know what's up with you, but you got to check out those first couple Armored Saint records. So I'm glad to be back here. Hopefully I can actually keep to a good schedule, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See you guys soon. Keep it greasy.